you do this book? Absolutely. Hardcover expert. So I guess we'll get started. Leslie will be here in a second. When I realized I was looking through this book the other day, I did realize that if you haven't read the original Positive Discipline books, or you haven't been in an original Positive Discipline class, the first section of this, the part 1, which says what is positive discipline, it gives you the whatever they are, the 25 or 27 tools of positive discipline. So if you want to read those through, that'll give you sort of a foundation, and then we're going to be building on that through these classes. And then as you are examining your own sort of personal challenges with your kiddos, that's in the next section, which is all the sort of parenting challenges, whatever they have, separation anxiety or homework or whatever they are. You can see there's headings for each of those in here. So that's sort of how the book is organized. I'm not a great reader of stuff like this. Like I'm a flipper, find what I want. But that's how the book's organized, so that helps when you're trying to think your way through all this information. And we're glad you came back. I was over here last week. I think we told you this first time Joanne and I have done this. So you were kind of at the end, you were sort of like, oh, hope people come back. So we're glad you came back. And there's a couple of new people here. So why don't we do a shortened version of just going around with who we are, so that we can put names to faces. I'm Cindy. I'm the program coordinator for Head Start. Our Head Start program here in the island is a home-based preschool program designed to support children's emotional and physical and cognitive development through strengthening families, essentially. So that's what we do. I'm Joanne Lambert, and I'm just sitting back a little bit. You have a Zoom going on here. I want my big body right here. I was a family child care provider for over 20 years, and I now work to support family child care providers and their programs and help out at the family center as well.
My name is Marisa, and
You have 2 kids.
I have 2 kids. Cass is 3, and this is Evelyn. She's 9.
I'm Zaya, and sorry, can you just ask, what is our mess?
I was gonna ask
You
about
can do what you want.
Oh,
I know, last week I really had a lot, so I was like, I came in.
And so let me rephrase that. You can do what you want as long as everyone is comfortable with that. I have to, because Head Start requires us to, but the rest is, as long as everyone's comfortable with it, I'm happy with it.
yeah. I'm Zaya. I have 3 daughters, ages 5, 8, and 1. And we have a 3 and
I'm Leslie, and I have 1 7.
I'm Lauren. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Everyone else said girls. I'm Lauren, and I have 1 4-year-old boy named Jackson.
Noah, and I had the same.
4-year-old So just a quick recap from last week. Last week we talked about the challenges that we are sharing with our children on that one piece of paper back there. And then we did a sort of brainstorming session about the characteristics and life skills we hoped our children would develop and have by the time they were 25 years old or so. And what we talked about was that the challenges page is sort of the roadmap, or is the things that are going to spur us on to make a roadmap to get to the characteristics and life skills. And some of the tools we're going to be we talked about the curiosity questions last week. So if those of you who weren't here, you can go back and look at those. And then today we are gonna zero in on a couple of other tools that you can use. But we wanted to check in with Lauren and see if she had any, if she tried any of those park strategies and if any of them worked.
And we've gone to the park. Actually, this was like a really good time to have that class. last week because it's been so beautiful out that every
Yeah.
single day in the afternoons except for yesterday, we have gone to the park, either just from home or after school. And I've used a couple. We used the do you want to do 3 more things? Used that twice, and that seems to work really well.
I use that as well with my daughter one day too.
Yeah, and then we also have done the what do you want to do when we get home thing. And he's left the park. I mean, we'll have a little bit of like, no, I don't want to, but then once we sort of start that conversation, instead of saying like, no, we have to, just being like, okay, like how about we pick 3 things before we leave, or you know, what do you want to build a big avatar castle? That kind of shifts his thinking from like just being defiant because he's like me and just doesn't want to be told what to do, to like, all right, I'm still in control of this.
Awesome.
It's been really
Good. Good. Okay.
We thought that, we do a little, just a warm-up thing for fun this morning. We're gonna go back around, and this time, we would like you to, take a minute and think about your child or one of your children and introduce yourself as that child. How would your child describe himself or herself to us? Yes, you are your child. Tell us who you are. We'll start from this way.
Yeah, you
Just as my name and
Tell us something about yourself.
And it can be
Okay.
a word, it can be short, just
Yeah.
something that your child would say to describe himself.
I'm Isaac and I like playing with Magpie.
I'm Isaac and I'm 6.
I'm Chloe and I love animals and I love people and making friends.
I'm Faye, and I'm a T-Rex.
So am I. I'm Faye and I really, really love to play on my Switch, which is really dense. I'm Flo and
I'm Cassius and I love playing outside and being busy and figuring things out.
It's awesome. Look at how simple that was, really. You don't really have to think about it. That's how well you know your child.
And a huge part of positive discipline, as we talked about last week, and we're going to do some more of that this week, is putting yourself in your child's body to see how they are receiving the information and messages that you're giving them. So the point of this exercise, obviously, is to start even that process of putting yourself in your child's body. How do they see the world? What do they think when they're receiving information or they're receiving orders or requests from you? Like what's happening in that little body? And because what we've learned is that we can't change them. We have to change ourselves in order for their behavior to change. Because we can want all we want, and it's not going to help them get to the characteristics and life skills we want them to get to. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So this is the little part. It's just a little bit of parenting information that's designed to support the next things that we're going to do today. So you teach your children. It's your responsibility to teach your children the life skills and the social skills that you've identified. Obviously, some of you don't agree with all of those, but whatever are your family values and your personal parenting goals for your children, that's what you want to be focusing on, is those skills that you want to build. You're the one who helps your child grow up to feel a sense of belonging and connection to his or her family. It's your job to find ways to ensure your kids feel special, unique, and loved and valued as an individual person. And how do you do that? You go through discipline. But discipline, I think, has gotten a bad rap. I mean, when I was a little kid, discipline meant timeouts and, things being taken away and privileges being taken and sometimes spanking or yelling. And all those things have nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. Discipline is not about punishment or control, but it's about educating and skill building. It's constructive, encouraging, affirming, loving, and optimistic. So those are the things that you want to keep in your forefront when you're having these conversations with your kids. If parenting focuses only on the needs of the child and not on the needs of the adult, it isn't mutually respectful. That kind of parenting encourages dependence and lack of courage, which I don't think any of us want with kids. If parenting focuses only on the needs of the adult and not on the needs of the kid, it's also not mutually respectful. And excuse me, that promotes submission, fear, and rebellion on the part of the child. Because all they see you as is like a totalitarian person. Positive discipline puts the emphasis on a balance of firmness and kindness, and on providing respect for both the adult and the child. Because it's neither permissive nor punitive. I'm sorry, I'm kind of reading this one because this is my first time doing it. I'm like, I don't want to get it wrong. Because it's neither permissive or punitive, it brings hope, increased skills, and love to your family. The more tools you have, which is what we're doing, the more you can teach. And one of the tools is be heard and kind. Positive discipline parents are neither too permissive nor too controlling. So think about how, you can think either about your best moments or your worst moments. Are you bossy? Are you the boss? Are you the person who has all the power and your kids should obey you simply because you're the parent? Or are you what positive discipline calls on milquetoast? Are you the person you give your child? This child is the center of your universe. And so they have all the power. And that could be because they're challenging kids or just because of the way that you approach your parenting. If you're kind and firm, your child is part of your family, not the center of the family. And you know your child's personality and you can create boundaries without breaking his or her spirit. Which is, I think, based on our conversation last week, it's really with all your highly challenging behaviors, that's what you want, right? You want to be able to put boundaries in place that don't break them, that help them channel those challenges into those skills.
When I was reading that, I was like, oh, I feel like I do that so much. Like trying to break her down just so that she stops doing or does what I want or stops doing what I don't want her to do. And then I just always feel so bad about it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that.
So, I think what you just pointed out, Leslie, is really important because I think in our quiet moments, it's really important for us to be reflective of when we're not doing a great job, and when we feel really good about the job that we're doing as parents. And this isn't about making you feel bad. It's just you can't change your behavior if you can't recognize where you're not meeting your own individual goals as a parent or your own individual expectations as a parent. So if you're honest with yourself, you can ask yourself these questions. Do you act or are you proactive? Do you find yourself saying yes and no all day? Do you rely on punishment as the primary discipline tool? Do you feel sorry for your children when they mess up, like when something bad happened, they fall? Do you let your child make mistakes or take risks? I think a lot of us have rushed, like you see a kid climbing a tree, like, oh, be careful, be careful. Is that encouraging them to take risks, push their limits? Positive discipline will banish guilt from your parenting, Leslie.
I like that line too.
You and your children have permission to make mistakes again and again and again, and to try again and again and again. Because we know mistakes are how we all learn. So whose behavior are we changing? Or ours.
One other thing that I read that I highlighted that I just really made me think is that it said kind and firm parents take a step back, observe, and think before they act. And so often, I mean, that's the same thing as being, not just acting to be proactive, but when it was said like that, I was like, that I just rush into so instantly wanting to be like, no, don't do that, even though it's really not that big of a deal, like, I mean, sometimes, yes, you're going to be like, but you know, it could just be like, something in my mind, like, oh, it's probably gonna make a mess, so definitely, you know, or whatever it is, and you just automatically.
I think that's a really good point, because I think that, you know, we're so anxious to stop whatever is happening that we don't take a minute to stop and think, you know, and as I think we talked about this last week, it takes a while to change this. It's not like you're gonna, you know, it's not like you're gonna be able to flip a switch and change what you're doing overnight. Just like it takes children weeks sometimes to change a behavior, like a bedtime routine. If you have to change and make a bedtime routine for your kids, and it can take weeks for them to really fully assimilate into that routine, because they're not going to learn it overnight. And you guys aren't going to be able to change the way you approach these challenges in your lives overnight either. It's just flipping your brain so that you can start thinking, oh, and at the end of the day, go, oh, I wish I had done differently. I wish I'd handled that differently. And that's going to start the learning process of how you change it the next time that happens. I mean, it's just, you know, you shouldn't expect too much from yourself. Okay, so we have one of our little activities to do. And it's called Kind of Firm Parenting. Won't surprise you. Just find a great thing here.
I think, you know, going along that idea that you feel guilty, you know, I relate that to learning this. I realize when I think back, those times when I felt guilty, there's a little red flag saying, you know, I want to do that differently next time. Because, you know, in a perfect world, we shouldn't come out of it feeling guilty.
Learn from it instead of feeling guilty.
Yeah, or feel like something happens, feel like that learning moment that we talk about, you know, when that happens, then you don't feel guilty.
Right.
You know, you might actually have the same result as when you would just pull them out of the situation,
Yeah.
but then you feel terrible.
Hey, Chloe and I had a little thing in the car before we got our school one day this week. And, you know, still, like, when she got out, I was like, love you, you know, but it just in a few minutes of driving to school, I was like, I probably just, her and I just having that little like tip about whatever it was, probably set her whole day back a little bit, because now she's, you know, and it happened for no reason, you know, and like, and then after I drove it, like, wish I could have done it. It just wasn't the way that her morning should have started off.
But that's what you took out of it. I think we also have to remember that they're not us, like, they're not at our developmental level.
True.
And one of my favorite things in positive discipline is like, even when those instances happen, like, the most important thing that you can do, if it was like something that you feel like you should apologize for,
Just, yeah, that's one thing that
Yeah.
we should just automatically forget. She always like says she's loving to write now, so she's always like, I'm sorry, mom, like, you're bad. It's like breaks all that. So that's one of the things that you can't touch and it's automatic.
and like, one of the statements that he and I have started using with Isaac is like, when we apologize to him, also telling him like, you know, mommy and dad are still learning too, like, we're learning. And I've found that like he can relate to that and be like, okay, like.
They know better with that too.
Yeah, because it's, when I was growing up, it was always like, mom and dad are like, it's just, it's not just parents, it's adults, like, no matter what adult says to you, no matter what an adult does to you, it doesn't matter, like, how you react, how you feel about that, doesn't matter, they're the adults. So it was like a mind-blowing thing for me to talk to a child, like, it's a learning process to be able to say to like a 4-year-old, I'm sorry, I was wrong, mommy's still learning. And him to be like, okay, mom, like, it's okay.
Yeah, right.
I don't think I ever.
Yeah, no, it just wasn't done. So that's a big.
Or in some cases, it's overtime. You know,
Yes.
when, so the overdoing of that is giving all the power to the child.
Yes.
So there's no balance.
Did you guys feel like sometimes you have trouble being kind and firm at the same time?
Yeah, because I feel like it's an extreme I like that in most things. It's, I can either go all the way over here or all the way over here. It's hard for me to feel like if I'm firm with him, yeah, like that's acceptable, because I feel like because it was constant firmness without the kind, but as soon as I start being firm, I'm instantly like,
How many am I in right now?
yeah.
And your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. There you go.
Anybody else? It's hard. Well, it's hard in those big behavior moments for sure. Because, you know, you get aggravated. You get angry.
It's hard not to take it personally.
Yes.
And that's for me, like a big thing I've been trying to do lately, especially with Isaac's like temper tantrum. Like, if he did it last night, like he didn't want to do anything, he was just like, I'm not doing that. He like stomped down the hallway, slammed the door in his room, and instead of being reactive for me, which I would have been in the past, I was just kind of like, okay, let's give him a minute. Yeah, like let's just give him a minute. And like a few minutes he came out and was just like, which that could have been a moment that escalated into like a complete power struggle meltdown. And then by giving him, yeah, I was we've been trying to just, and that was like growing up, I was never afforded that. I was never given space in big emotions. Like if me and because if my mom was a single mom, if we got in a fight, she would follow me around the house. Like if I ever tried to just close myself off, yeah, I would be followed around. And that's something that I learned. Yeah, that's something that I learned in my young adulthood that I carried into like relationships that made relationships dangerous in some aspects. And that's something that I'm proud to be able to like break with Isaac. You walking away and slamming the door is literally a sign saying like, I need my space. Yeah. And to just give him that and then have him be like, I guess I have to brush my teeth.
Okay, well, we're gonna do a little practice about the kind and firm at the same time. So, what I want you guys to do is pair up somehow, and we have one extra, so maybe Joanne, do you wanna pair up with one person? And you can, what I want you to do is remember that you wanna be focusing on those life skills, right? You wanna be focusing on whether we're getting there or not, whatever we're doing. Okay, and you can pick a little place in the room that you can pair with your partner to stand. And I'll go around and give you the things that you do.
Is it better for the parents to pair together because then they can see both sides of it, or?
You know what, I am not gonna make that rule.
You be social.
Sorry, do you want us to get into our corners first and then
Yeah.
I'll hand it out?
All right, you can be my friend.
And you wanna be about 3 feet away from each other. And when you get in your pair, somebody's gonna be a parent and somebody's gonna be a child.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you. I did it. First work 2 years ago. It was a good find, yeah. It's like an old.
Well, that's just,
Who's the
I
parent?
mean, I've been out there a couple times.
I'll be the parent.
Yeah.
So, honestly,
Which one's the parent? Okay,
I'm sure.
first. All right, so. Person who's the child is gonna be watching those life skills list and think about how you're feeling and whether you think you're getting anywhere near those places when the parent is talking to you. And parents, I want you to notice what you're doing or saying, is that reflective of what your goals are, okay? So parents, you're gonna read each of those things in the firm section, and the child is gonna move closer to the parent if you're feeling like you're getting any of those things, okay? And
Any of
you're,
the, like, so.
yes.
Okay.
And if you're not, you're gonna move back.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So we don't really have all that.
Yep.
I'm not going to the weekend, so I'll get right there. So don't stop doing that in time out. But I cooperate or you lose all your corporate. No, just do those. I don't care if you don't want to brush your teeth, or if you tell that and get going. If I don't brush your teeth, you'll never have sugar again. I said he would have owned the dishwasher and I don't want to hear any back talk. Can't be your meal with this minute. You're being I'm not going to buy you something every time. Right. Yeah, I know. She's 9 months. Mhm.
If you yell at us, that's.
Yeah, she was probably, well, that was in the fall, so like October. Yeah, like 5 months. She's really smart. We don't probably look at them. But now she's almost 1.
Okay, kids, people who were kids. What were you thinking, feeling, or deciding when those statements were being made to you?
You literally feel like you want to get away as fast as possible.
Yeah. Like I can't be trusted to do anything on
And just like stop talking to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. They're not, just do these things
Leave
and
me
then go
alone.
away.
So is that helping to stop these? No. Or helping to get here? Okay. Parents, how is that feeling for you?
Didn't feel like my head was in saying those things. I didn't feel good about it, I felt bad.
Did you feel like when you saw the way the child was responding, did you feel like you were parenting, disciplining, or just punishing?
Just being mean.
Especially when you say things like that and you still don't get results, like that's.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like if
Affirming.
if I get like really firm with him, and it's because I've said most of those things before.
Same.
And yeah, and he literally it's just like, I don't care. It's still just like, no.
Yeah.
Then it makes me angry.
And then you repeat yourself again and again,
Yeah.
and then.
That's how like the wall happens, because they're just not hearing. So you're not even, it's not effective.
Yeah.
Right, it's still not effective, but and you feel bad and it's not effective, so it's like the worst situation.
I feel like a lot of it too, you can't actually follow through with, so it's.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Threatening.
You were talking about,
Yeah,
like,
you're like,
yeah, I'm gonna do this, and you're like, no, stop.
Now we're not doing anything. You're never gonna have
I
sugar
did
in
that
that.
this morning.
Okay, so get back to like a couple of feet away from each other. And we're gonna do the same thing, only read the other questions. The kind questions, or kind statements.
We're gonna be kissing here.
Yeah, should we be?
I know. So sad. I tried that today, well, I didn't say it's sad, I said it makes me sad when you don't
I don't
listen. Fine, go ahead, sweetie.
Come on, go ahead, sweetie, but this is the last.
I think that's true. Please stop crying, you can have something from the store this time, but remember, you can't have something every time you go to the store. I'm worried you'll get cavities before you brush your teeth. Sure, you can fix your own sandwich, but I'll do it this time. I wish you could eat your dinner before we start our children's tomorrow. Classic. You promised you would not play video games so much if we bought the game player for you. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes again. Yeah, it feels like, yes, especially coming from the others. Like that. Yeah, it's like too abstract.
You promised you would not play video games.
Although I did use the cat piece tonight. I said it's too
Okay,
But yeah, it's like such a funny, she's,
second.
just, he's good, he's just very like strong now, and I know that. And like, it's just so, I mean, the.
Okay, I'll give you 5 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, kids, what were you thinking, feeling, or deciding when you heard those statements from your parents?
I think it felt confusing. It's just like, what are you saying exactly?
Happy to get my goal.
I
That's
mean,
what I want.
I did kind of feel like I felt a little too pushovery. I mean, I felt that mom was being a little like kind of being a pushover. You're still getting all the things that you wanted. I don't know. It doesn't seem like you're still not listening. I don't know. They promised you'll get the game player if you said you were gonna play less games, but obviously they're not playing less games. They promised you, even though you got the game player, you're saying something like that.
Just
So,
in context for like Isaac, a lot of those would be like too much for him to understand. Like, eat your dinner, they're starving kids, like, you know what I mean, like, he'd be like, what?
they don't understand the concept.
Yeah, like, that doesn't
But
understand.
they can be adjusted in other, they could, they're not gonna study just like that.
Yeah.
Other ways to say it, doesn't work.
And parents, how did it feel to be giving those statements?
Stupid. That's the point, it's not gonna fix anything.
Yeah, it's not gonna do anything, just like the other,
Yeah, just like the yelling too
but
much
just
or
in a
being
too kind way.
Yeah. Okay, you guys can come back to your seats.
Two kinds.
Okay.
So, have you learned anything yet today or thought anything new today? Yeah,
Just, there needs to be a balance
yeah. Rephrasing them a little bit. To make them work or not.
Like, I think the goal is to have, like, it's important to set the boundaries, but there's a respectful way to, like, have your expectations met while being respectful of your child. Yeah.
Something that will actually remind me of this book, was, and something we were talking about, the challenges last night, was feeling nagged. I feel like my kids are all the time, and it's just like, all I do is yell, like, stop nagging, like, stop. And I think what I realized was, forget what but I probably nag my kids just as much.
Right.
And the, I forget where it talked about like less words and the actions.
Yeah.
And all of this, like, these like sayings and phrases, it's just like so much words. And it's like that's one of the things, I don't know, this is just like, we're just talking. And, so yeah, just having less words and like really choosing your words carefully. And I think in the introduction it said something about like our words should be like too carefully. And they should, yeah, it was just like carefully choosing your words and
Yeah, how many times have you been somewhere and you listen to a parent like in the middle of some big thing and they're talking for like 5 minutes about something that's happened and I mean, it happens to me all the time, like at the grocery store or, at the center when somebody's talking about and I listen to parents like going on and on, explaining to some 4 or 3-year-old, like what the problem is and why you change, and I'm like, okay, are you looking at your kids, because they checked out.
Really loving your
Not working for you.
I feel like I never start at like the too firm, but then like get frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go there.
I'm more apt to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
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 Or first thing in the morning,
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Trying to
just
have
how
that.
everybody-
Zero cooperation to
Yeah.
begin with, then I'm more likely to use it.
I just have some cooperation that is I brought something that we used this week, which I can send you the
Oh, that's a great-
PDFs for it and go through your. So we made Isaac a responsibility chart, and this is literally transformed, like, we've done it like for a couple days, but it's, he has a morning and an evening, and it's just for, he's 4, so he has only 4 things that he has to do. But every single morning since we started this, he doesn't even come into our room now until he has gone potty and not dressed.
Well, yeah, that's like kind of the same thing.
And that was like one of our giant hurdles, was like getting him to eat breakfast, get dressed, and get out the door, especially on school days. And he literally, he loves it. Like,
Yeah, routine charts are awesome, and,
I have
and he's been like,
He can do it.
yeah, he does it himself, he put it like next to his door.
And then he goes off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's
Oh,
been
they
so
know.
proud when he finishes it, he's been telling, he told his teachers at school about it. Like,
there is, if
I have one.
you are interested in something like that, maybe to get her national student actions.
yeah, I have those.
I have told her.
Oh, okay, cause I have one, yeah.
It's a little different. It's like, very similar. It's two different things. So you can start
But yeah, and
Or
there's
we can
some,
share, I can send it to you.
yeah, and it comes with, there's like 40, I want to say there's 40 or 45, like
Yeah.
other, if there's other things, there's all sorts of
Yeah.
like, these are just ones that,
Load the dishwasher.
yeah, these are just ones that I knew he was having a hard time with. And we even added in, like, he usually doesn't clear his own dishes, but now that's something that we do at night after dinner, like, you put your own.
Where did you land it?
And I don't know.
Yeah, it's
But-
helpful.
I mean, I also don't mind if, I don't mind like just limiting.
We can do it too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I was like, I could use one at the ocean, and Turner is no longer in working order.
But yeah, so we did, that was something where he's at the age now where I feel like he wants, and he, you know, we were talking about sometimes things take time, but this was like immediate. He told, like I told him the night before, and I bought him like a little, clothing rack that has like sections in it, like a hanging closet kind of, and I put all of his outfits in there. And then that's, he just knows, he goes to his clothing rack, he picks out an outfit, it has everything he needs for the day, he gets himself dressed. He takes off his, like, his night diaper, his PJs, puts them in his dirty laundry, and then he will come in, like this morning he came in and was like, I got my list done.
Oh,
Like,
so
and
cute.
I was like, hey, like breakfast, it's like, yeah, so that was
Great.
just taking us out of that, because when you're talking about like nagging, that's how I felt, it was always like, okay buddy, like now it's time to get dressed, now it's time to have breakfast, it's time to put your shoes on.
And then how many hurdles we need to jump through before he's gonna.
Yeah, just to get him to school, and he's like, I want to, I'm watching my show, or I want to play with my I was like, I don't listen to you. So to just be like, here are the things you need to have done, and like, you can do them in whatever order you want, or like, that's giving him, he feels in control of his morning. And the big thing was, he's very like reward based, and we've definitely like gone overboard with like the, if you do this, you get this. And for this, I wanted to specifically, there is no reward for it, like this is, these are just things you have to do. And he responded to it. Yeah, like he just, because I was nervous that he was gonna be like, what do I get? But he didn't, he just does it.
Yeah, I think there's a chapter in the book about routine charts, if I'm not mistaken. I'm getting a little confused because we've done a lot of training for the last couple of months. Solutions, but discipline, I can't remember which.
I think they have one that's more a little bit for, because Chloe's pretty good about that stuff now, she knows, and she used the one that Alan gave her, which I'm happy to give to you for the time, but, do you think there's one that's more like like, to like do your homework
Oh,
and
100%.
fold the laundry, or
Oh,
like.
this one has all of
Oh,
that.
that has all.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it has, there's like yogurt.
Okay, it has all of it.
Yeah, it has everything. I was like, yeah, sure, here you go.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
just
that was something that's a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah, it has tons of stuff.
Oh, right. Okay, so I need 6 parents and 1 kid to finish this exercise. Okay, you can just line up over there.
All right, if you're a parent, everybody wants to be a parent.
I was a kid once.
I mean, that could be.
Yeah.
I know,
And I think that-
Let me tell you, I like.
So, yeah, we got one, Darren.
I think I volunteered to do it.
Okay, good, so then you stand over here. So we're just like, we do this like twice a year, but whatever, and we just add it.
You can sit back if you want.
Oh, okay, I got
Okay,
You wanna be a parent?
okay. So you're just gonna walk down the line, and the parents are gonna deliver these statements to you.
Okay.
And remember, you're keeping in mind those characteristics of like.
This is emphasizing on the and instead of saying but.
Yes, exactly.
And you just read the whole thing, you don't have to read the account.
Okay, I was thinking that's probably. Whatever. I can understand why you'd rather watch TV than do your homework, and your homework needs to be done first.
I know you wanna keep playing video games and your time is up. You can turn it off now or it will be put in the closet.
I know it's hard to stop playing and it's time to go.
Go home, go to bed, and spend time this return story online.
You don't want to brush your teeth, and I don't want to pay dentist bills.
Oh, race you to the bathroom.
I know you don't want to do your chores. And what was our agreement about when they would be done?
Great, you guys can come back to the table. So go to the kid, what were you thinking, feeling, and deciding when you heard all those messages from their parents?
I think I was more just thinking about doing it more than with the firmer or the soft.
So you're thinking more about being.
Saying it, yeah, like I was just thinking about, oh, I guess it would. And it does work better when you become a little bit off.
Not quite fast enough.
And parents, what were you thinking, feeling, and deciding?
I think it, like, the word but almost sounds like the word no, like when you say but, they know that that means that a no is coming. Or, you know, so it's, the and includes both the thing that they want to do or don't want to do and combines them together.
I think that this is a great, like, I felt like I was setting a boundary that I was comfortable with. Like, giving them the opportunity to turn it off now, or it would be put in the closet, like, that's a consequence, that's, you know, a boundary, like, it's still time to turn it off, but you have the option to either put it away yourself, or I can put it in the closet.
Yeah.
It's also a learning from ideals, like, it is, it's really hard to stop thinking.
Yeah.
So you feel like it's more respectful? Are you building a mutual respectful relationship with your child?
Mine makes me think of what I say to her when she started arguing about brushing teeth. My brother has been horrible with his teeth for the last, I can't tell you how long, and they're all black, falling out. So I remind her what her uncle's mouth looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to tell her, like, you take care of your teeth, they will look nice and bright and shiny. Not take care of your teeth, then they look like your uncle's.
Yeah.
You pick what you
So
want your
that's
teeth to
all.
look like, you know?
What's gonna?
Cause she won't care about the dentist bills, you know, that obvious, I was, yeah, she's gonna care about that. But otherwise, you know, yeah, it made more sense than.
It's just that change in word from but to and.
Yeah, just change the word, that's combining and statements.
Using the correct tone too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you can still sound assertive, saying a lot of these things and still sound like a jerk. You know, so.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the firm,
Mhm.
you know, with still being respectful and kind. I mean, I think, and listen, like I told you guys last week, I'm no expert. The only reason I'm sitting here is because I took this training, you know, it's just, you know, I raised 2 kids, but I said plenty of those firm only statements. in my
Probably didn't have all
parenting
these
years.
tools back then,
Mhm.
back when you were raising them either.
Yeah.
They were just done differently
But I think, I mean, I think it's really, I think the point of it all is to give you guys some more tools to put in your toolbox, because they're actually gonna reach out. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna hand this out. This is just a questionnaire. Some of you might find it useful to use with your partner if you have a partner, or just to do reflection on yourself when you're, you know, thinking about this again. It's not homework, you don't have to do it. It's just questions you might find interesting.
Look back.
Yeah. Joanne.
You know, I have a little something I want to talk about, but I'm just thinking based on this might be too much of a stretch to think about, but your children are going to be parents someday, possibly. And, you know, I reflect on my son who's a father, and you really do start to have that feeling of, what did I model? Like, when I see how he is with his children, and I kind of go, oh, and then I go, oh. So I know it's a bit of a stretch when you have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, but you know, the bigger picture is that you also are modeling parenting.
Yeah.
I think about myself, Daniel.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see yourself reflected in some behavior, and hopefully you'll say, oh, yay.
I see
Oh,
some of that with the way Faye talks to her little sister.
Oh, yeah.
She'll start talking like we do sometimes.
Yeah.
And Aiden will sometimes, we do the counting thing sometimes, because that will, most of the time, get Faye to do what she needs to do by counting through. So I'll give Faye a direction, and Aiden will say what I said, and then she'll start counting, and I'm like, Mama's got this. It's okay, baby. But just because you just said the thing about counting, something I highlighted that just happened to be right on this page is where it says, give up counting to 3, just zip your lips and act, you'll be amazed at the results, because I do counting. I mean, you know, sometimes, and when I read that, I was like, you know, I don't know.
I just started saying, no, I don't want you to count.
Yeah, it works for Faye, otherwise. Right, it just happened to be right there. Where, and if it's a safety thing and I'm counting, I count faster. If it's a non-safety thing, I count slower, because somebody said something about giving your child 10 seconds or more to follow the direction. Depending on the age, like you give a direction, wait 10 seconds, if they don't get any response to you,
Yeah,
then
it's
say it again, or make sure you're closer, or eye contact, whatever kind of thing, so.
it might feel like they're getting badgered if you just go.
Yeah, you just rapid fire,
Yeah.
keep putting it out there.
Yeah, if you're using it all the time, it probably loses its power.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about something kind of interesting that I learned through this training. We're going to talk about the brain and behavior, but this isn't a neuroscience class. This is going to be really simple. This model was developed by Dan Siegel, who's a professor of neuroscience and psychiatry. I also founded a Mindful Awareness Research Center and works with children and families. He created this model of the brain for family members, both parents and children, to understand the brain. And you can do this with me if you like. We're going to hold up our hand open like this. Think of from the wrist to the palms, the brain stem. And this is where all the information is being carried from your body to the brain, back around your body. Your thumb over your palm is what we call the midbrain, the limbic system. This carries, well, it carries memories that created fear, kind of known as survival instinct. Fight or flight instinct is here. Very important for survival. This was the first part of the brain that developed in humans, is the sort of the primitive part of the brain. This is our radar to recognize danger, or I think of it as emotion. This is the limbic system. So this is like a lot of emotion. Bring your fingers over your thumb. This represents the prefrontal cortex, which is right here, right behind your forehead. This is what we think of as the higher part of the brain. This carries reasoning, rational thinking, regulates these emotions, deciphers messages, to determine appropriate response. So you're not always acting in fight or flight. You're not always acting with emotion. You can think of it as the smart part. This is a phrase I've heard used with kids, and this is being modeled for children. The smart part keeps us in balance. And, you know, remember that children and up through teenagers do not have a fully formed prefrontal cortex. When we are accessing our prefrontal cortex, we are flexible, adaptable, coherent, energized, and stable. These are just like a FACES acronym that Dr. Siegel came up with to understand how this is helping us act with reason. When we get triggered by stress or any kind of somebody pushing our buttons, and our more limbic system takes over and we flip our lid. We call that the flip lid. We're now in a flipped lid. We lose that balance. And when we're in that space, we can act in ways that are erratic and can be scary, can be terrifying for children when we're, anger. Here's where it's just pure anger. We're not being rational about how we're behaving. There's also a thing unfortunately, called mirror neurons, where if you're behaving in a flipped lid mode, the person, which could be your child, is going to kind of mirror what you're doing. They might not have been there themselves, but you get them there by acting that way. And they literally call that mirror neurons in brain science. As adults, we have fully formed prefrontal cortexes. We don't always access them, but we try. And we learn to bring it back home. And one of the things is we all have different strategies that we use to bring ourselves back to a rational place. One is breathing. So, I literally do this myself. I just take like 3 deep breaths. Now I feel much calmer. Getting a little nervous about saying all that. And we can teach this with kids. I haven't done that myself, but I've seen videos of Dr. Siegel and other people actually teaching this to a kid who's probably at least 4, and talk about the flipped lid, and then use it later in kind of when you see it happening, you see it developing. The kid is going off the edge, right? And you can, if you've done this with the child, you can kind of do how are you doing? How are you doing? Where's your lid? Are you here? Are you here? Are you up here? And what do they call it? See it, name it, tame it. What can we do? What can we do to bring this back? Let's do something. What can we do? So that's the brain in the palm. And it's kind of you can actually see some cool videos if you Google it and you can see somebody working with kids with that. What we're doing here is coming up with strategies to bring that back and going off of this kind and firm scenario. I want to talk just for a couple minutes about positive timeout. And I'm going to do a little play for you all. So I've invited Leslie, who has some theater training, to help me demonstrate a quick little scenario.
Oh, I really.
You don't? I thought you did. I thought I saw you in a.
I was gonna play, but I
So Leslie is my partner, and she's just coming through the door from her day. Hey, honey, I'm home. Don't you, honey, me. You left your socks on the floor again. Yeah, how many times have I said, I can't be picking up your socks all the time. I'm not your maid. You know what? Don't even come in here. Go in your den and think about it. So the question to Leslie is, how did that make you feel?
Well, you feel attacked, like you just been doing whatever you've been doing all day, whether, I mean, I guess it's at school or work or whatever. And you don't really want to just be yelled at, right, when you walk through the door, you don't feel like any kind of welcome, or, and you're also thinking like, oh, they're just socks, like, it's not really the end of the world, you know, like, if that's something you really need to be so upset about, like.
So you're not making any decisions that are leading you towards these life skills that we.
Not even as a grown up.
I'm gonna like keep leaving my socks on the ground.
Ah, rebellion. Yeah, well, you know, that's a punitive timeout, and that's what we talk about. People don't realize that children are always making decisions about what they're gonna, about themselves as people, and about what they're gonna do in the future or right now, based on these experiences that are happening to them. And Leslie named a couple of the things that will make you feel, and like you said, rebellion, never took my socks out again, right? Resentment, well, you know, who is she to tell me to, you know, what, geez. Self-esteem, like, oh, I'm just such a terrible person. And sneaky, this is something my husband and I have actually talked about recently, is the way we were brought up was with a lot of that. And it kind of teaches you to work a little harder not to get caught.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, just kick them under the bed, or
Yeah.
that's where a lot of Chloe's stuff.
So the positive discipline talks about using timeout, and again, in a positive way, positive timeout. And again, it's really for kids who are 4, more than 4 and up. But if you can engage your children in creating a timeout space and talk about what makes them feel upset or angry, and you could go back to that brain if that's something that works with your child. You can compare this to a game or sports. Everybody has to take a time out. And we've talked about this before, even, you know, mom has to take a time out, dad has to take a time out. Ask the question, if you could have a space to yourself and fix it up with things that make you feel better, where would it be? Let them choose a space. Let them name the space. And it can be any space. I mean, timeout sounds a little punishment, because I think kids hear it in other parts of the world too. So it could be called something else, a cool out space, or whatever name they want to give it.
One of my friends who doesn't even have kids, she's like hangs out with Chloe sometimes and watches this little boy, and she always like lets them pick when they go to her house, like a place that she just calls on their like safe space. You know, just like where you can go if you feel like you need some space. Like, because sometimes there'll be a couple of kids and this one doesn't want to play with this one, and so she has, I'm like, she's not even on, well, she's done off to Chloe, but she's not here, there's just a good idea, you know. And
There was a teacher at the Untitled School that had Australia set up after that Alexander book, you know, even in Australia, and so there was a nice comfy little spot with some books and some crayons and stuff. And I think it really requires a brain shift, because we all think timeout is punitive. It's like, no, you're getting a timeout, or go sit in the timeout chair, or go sit in the naughty chair. This is the opposite of that. This is, you're feeling bad. I feel like
So you need to cool down.
would it help you feel better if you went to your cool out space, or if you went to Australia? And then what's it doing? It's teaching those life skills, how to respond to stress, how to calm your body down, and it's building confidence, and it's building self-esteem, because they're able to handle it. They're learning skills to handle it. Just like we do sometimes have to take those timeouts, you know, when we know that we're getting near the edge. I mean, right there.
Kind of making me think of my mom, my friend who does child development stuff, for all my classes that we log, and my mom did some further education stuff with her. But she gave me something that was about a calm down box. And it's like a sensory thing, that you just have it ready to go, so it's kind of like this, where your child needs to just bring themselves down, and it has a variety of tools in it to help them.
Yeah, and these, I mean, that's brilliant, because maybe you aren't where your child has the space
Yeah.
when this happens, right? So, at home, we've developed a corner together, and we've asked what they'd like to have in the space, and they have some things there. Would you like to go to your space? If they don't want to go, would you like me to go with you? All these, I gave you some of these hints with this tool, but the box is an excellent idea for when you're not, exactly. I think I've actually witnessed that. I saw was a niece of mine, we were at a restaurant, and she successfully and positively gave a timeout to her, like 4 or 5 year old, who was acting up. Because she had something like that, she had something
Like they went as far as to say, put like an essential oil in there that your child responds well to.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted,
We recently checked the book out of the library too, called Breathe Like a Bear.
Oh, yes.
It's so there's 30, and they're called like mindfulness moments for kids, and there's 30 of them. It's fantastic. They're really short, little exercises that you can do with. I mean, it's working with Isaac. He does one called hot chocolate, and it's like you pretend like you want hot chocolate, but it's getting them into breathing.
And the hot chocolate's too hot,
Yeah, so you have to
And you-
cool it down.
and you have to take a breath in. Blow
And then you have to
out.
and it tells you to take a sip, and you have to go, really look at it. He does it, and he even has, there's been a couple times over the past few weeks that after he gets really upset, and he'll be so.
I wonder if that's where my girls use all the dogs. Because I have to keep them breathe in.
Oh, probably.
And that's all my daughter's like, I'm just.
It's fantastic. Yeah, we've not and they're short enough where it's because I don't live at the library, but we got it from the library, and then literally we memorized a couple, so now we
It's
just
called
kind of-
Breathe Like a Bear.
it's called Breathe Like a Bear.
I think that's probably why the same person, I just bought a book for, this part of the book. And it's how like a fox, and it comes with masks. And it's different little exercises for your kids to do, or it's to teach them little things, but it's also fun.
Yeah. And it is a whole series.
It's
So
like a
that's,
creativity thing.
they make one called mindfulness moments too.
Right,
Those
yeah,
are books for the littles.
Do you have that, just, that's a lot, that's
Yeah.
nice, so it's on there. It's
Yeah.
right on there.
Yeah, it's been great. Because there's ones for calming down, there's ones for bedtime, there's ones for different things that you can do for. But we just, giving that, those aren't fast required. To sit and breathe, if I was upset, that was, as a 27-year-old in therapy, not, not as a 4-year-old, so it's just a little baby, oh my God. Yeah, what do you do? Thank you, just go ahead. But we found that could be a good, even if we had a couple in their little area and say, hey, needs to calm them down.
Yeah, just a place to take a break instead of getting away from that, you're being punished by being
Yeah.
away, to let's help you get back.
Yeah.
The calm.
Yeah, it's a good visual too, having him explain that to him and telling him, all right, do this, and as we're breathing, close your hand, if we're ready to.
And we're gonna go over some more real tools as well as we go along.
Yeah, we'll do the family meeting next week, because I know you guys wanted to talk about that, we'll do that next week, and, there's another one I think that you guys wanted to talk about too, that we'll do. In the meantime, we don't have enough time to do the whole parents helping parents thing, but we can do a quick brainstorming session without the role playing stuff, and see if we can come up with any solutions for anybody that might have a challenge in their plate right now? That's particularly difficult.
I'm sorry, I think I stopped listening for a second. So for something, what did you just, I'm sorry.
If somebody has a, like last week we talked about Lauren's challenge at the park, does anybody have some challenge that's they're having a hard time figuring out how to respond to?
My 3-year-old wants to wear the same dress every day. And so I think just like getting dressed in general. Like, I can't wear that.
She doesn't care about all that.
Today it was like a little, I mean, I feel like I'm trying to be more engaged about solving it, but
Like, I don't have it, but that's probably not solved.
yeah, it's just like very,
But she's okay if she wears the same thing.
she wants today, today I was like, we can this for 3 days. So no, you can't wear it, or you need to wash it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let's popcorn some solutions, just throw them out.
You just say.
It's in the washroom? I mean, it's in the washroom.
Yeah, I was-
we don't-
I was gonna say maybe
Well,
involve
at least
her in loading the washer,
Getting it ready
Yeah.
and planning the next station for it.
if that's what something should.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that too, but that's not actually solving
Find
the
something
problem.
similar.
Yeah,
We have something similar.
giving her 2 different options.
They was stuck on wearing skirts for a while, so I gave a variety of skirts for her. Yeah, I would say give her two tutus. You know, so.
Have her, is like, maybe she could potentially have something that she is allowed to have. That's not- And that is special, that's like, okay, this is something that you can't always have. Yeah, like a special.
Special hair bracelet.
I mean, it's hard because my like response to things is usually just like, all right, like, we'll just buy like 7 teeth.
Yeah.
But I don't think, it's not
But that's.
helping that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is too kind, thank you.
Yeah,
Maybe have what you want.
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but I'm watching my son buy the next size up and the next size up. of the
Not the same outfits.
Yeah.
I have an obsession with a certain type of underwear, and I do that with that.
But that's it, like.
But it's
a
underwear,
comfort.
so
That's
it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, it's that.
That's a
brand,
brand where it's not like
like, so it's not.
I know that you were talking, Lauren, about your closet thing of the different outfits.
Oh,
I did
yeah.
something similar with my kids. They had the 2 bottom drawers of their dresser. They could choose anything they wanted in the 2 bottom drawers of their dresser to wear to school. And then I had to be quiet, they could wear stripes and dinosaurs or tights and tutus, whatever.
That's Isaac right now,
I just
every
had to
single
let it
day,
go.
every single piece of his clothing is on backwards.
Yeah.
And I
It's
just,
on purpose.
Okay.
no, it is on, like, this morning I was like, what are your buttons are in the back? He's like, I want it like that, and I was just like, it's so literally making you cringe, but sure, like.
Oh, yeah, and my daughter gets dressed on her, and I'm just shooting her whatever she wants.
Yeah.
But my 3-year-old is like getting, she was like running around the house naked, and it's like, we're leaving.
One of the things on that Velcro thing is getting dressed, so
Yeah.
maybe if she can use that, and like, that she gets
Or-
to decide what she's gonna wear.
Even
I know
if
it's
it's her, like,
so it's all fun.
having one of those where it's like, you have, these are all of your outfits for the week, and then it's like, that, because I felt like with Isaac, we would always try to encourage him to get himself dressed, and he has like a couple drawers, but he has a lot of clothes, so I felt like it was overwhelming for me, like, I think that was the disconnect. So maybe it's like, okay, these are, and she can even help you, like, hey, let's pick out your 5 outfits for this week, and we can put them wherever is like a good designated area for her, and then she gets to make that decision every day still. But I like his, I like Noah's idea about like, this dress is dirty, like, why don't you help me wash it?
Yeah.
I'll show you what happens to your dress when you're wearing it.
And then they also know if I want to wear something, then it's clean before I learn again and how to do that.
Oh, great ideas.
So do you think there's anything on that list you might try?
I think they do it in the laundry. She's very motivated by accomplishing things, so.
Task oriented.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
And
okay,
also the chart.
yeah, I just forwarded it to you, I forwarded that chart to Cindy. And there's another one on there, there was this one that's kind of more that I felt was more Isaac's speed, but then there was another chart, Leslie, that's like, it's like, there's like 10 blocks, and it's like, this is your morning routine, this is your evening routine, like with a lot of more choices for what that is. And it's not as like cutesy, which she might respond to better, she might respond to all these.
Yeah, we can send you guys those, and we can send you the ones from the pyramid model as well, from the positive solutions. There's also a little story that goes with the positive timeout, which we can send a YouTube link for that, so you can see just another version of how that looks for the lady who kind of invented positive discipline. She wrote a little story about it, and so it's just a cute little version of how this one idea of how to set up your own positive time space. Anything you guys want to share with us about what you'd like to do next week aside from, we'll definitely do family meetings, and I think we're gonna do that mistaken goals chart that I gave you guys last week, because that, I think, when I did this training, that mistaken goals was pretty helpful to me in understanding sort of where the disconnects are between us and our kids when we're trying to.
Maybe we could start with doing the parenting, like the parenting solution.
Yeah, that's a good
next
idea.
time.
Yeah, like we just did.
Yeah, but just start
Yeah.
the class with it.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming again. I hope to come back next week.
And then also, are you gonna do another one, like another session, because Robin, church,
Yeah.
Robin at church. They have, I was like, wow, you would need everybody in there, but it's taxes, and she was our tax office, so she can't.
Yeah.
But, I would love to, like, send her this, I know you have that for Jeff. But,
I don't know, I mean, I don't think we'll do it again this year. We may do the positive solutions, which is not dissimilar to this.
really, yes.
And then we'll gear up again in the fall. But we're also, if you have kiddos going to kindergarten, we're also going to be doing something this summer for kindergarten kids. We've done it since the pandemic started, we've done this kindergarten program on our way. And it's actually really fun, so.
That would be the first thing.
Yeah, we did it for like 6 or 8 weeks.
Okay, so she'll be
outside, and just did our basically for kids, and parents talked about kindergarten readiness skills, but they were kind of.
Oh,
The kids had a little bit of knowledge, not to be in a classroom.
Yeah, so, we're gonna miss that.
When did she go?
She's already back.
Oh, okay. And where is she gonna go?
It's in my.
Oh, let me show you that.
Oh, yeah. Is she going to my preschool?
A big activity was, they're both at.
So this is like so these are like, this is the more like adult.
And I felt
So
like.
there's like, you know, morning routine.
It was just like.
But
Separate
then
them?
for younger sisters. we go to See.
I
know different seasons, but.
I don't know.
These decisions are very hard.
They're really hard and it's just like,
Brush it from your
it's
hair.
also.
All sorts of, and then you have to
Yeah.
make multiple jump.
That's what I was thinking right off.
It's like,
But just.
so I just felt like, okay,
Or like, there's so much stuff.
I don't know, I feel so, but I feel like.
You know, but I sent it to like, so do you.
Question, how many do you, obviously those are not all. page? Did you,
Um,
like, did you cut each little square out? And then
So I laminated the sheets that these came on, and then I just closed them out, and then I just saved them.
So I noticed that was 12 pages, so it's.
Yeah, this one was literally, this one, it's.
Landed,
It's
right?
good, and it's
But
one
I
page stuff.
just-
And then, I mean, honestly, there's like some very, you know, like one thing, he has some other issues on, there isn't one. That's why
I think it's in there.
Yeah, like he just needs a little like shoe.
Yeah,
so-
right, I feel like.
Okay, like, I won't have to, it's right away. And he was like, "Do you want to bring your-"
Yeah. It is.
Actually,
Yeah,
it's true.
I do love the kindergarten programs on the island in general, and I think it's just.
Thank you.
School choice almost makes things too.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can utilize it,
Yeah.
you know, implement it and then feel like,
And I think, I mean, I don't know if they've been to the schools, have you been in the schools? But one thing I suggest to everybody is like, go visit the school.
Yeah.
Because you can get a feel for it.
Yeah.
You know, and the only piece of advice I give people about kindergarten is that you
Yes.
feel
You're
like
welcome.
you're a problem.
I'm gonna
Where the
write
school is
things.
gonna hurt them.
Yeah.
That the school shares your
Break her.
general speaking, your values,
Yeah.
your stuff like that. Like I was not interested in the West Disbury School because it didn't, they called teachers by their first name. I was not down with that with my kids. That was just the thing that
There you
my
are.
kids' parents, we didn't believe.
You feel better?
Yes. My daughter teaches at Boston, so it's like fine, you know? And
That's always
and
fun.
I so we sent our kids there, but.
Yeah.
My daughter
I'm
loves.
pretty happy for that, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think children's school is pretty cool, and I might have sent my kids to children's school,
Yeah.
except for I wasn't driving to
Right,
children's
yeah.
and back every day.
I know, that's where I'm like, where are we going? How?
Yeah. And then, yeah, and if you don't live in the town, you don't get bus service,
Yeah.
so you have to drive every day, and then you're like,
Yeah, I went to charter school actually, and I was the first driving class.
oh, well,
wow.
my niece and nephew went there.
And I feel like I should have submitted their names to Church Home, but then I'm like, and then my younger daughter's gonna still be going to preschool somewhere else. It just felt like,
Yeah,
ugh,
it's a lot.
yeah.
And we have three that, I'm sorry, Shay and Lila Sullivan, they were, Lila is, she's like 26 now. But yeah, they went to the church school until 8th grade, and then they went to the regional, because they both played sports.
Oh, yes. Someone text me, we live here, and what time do you live in?
I live in Shamrock.
Oh, geez.
But I can, but we can text me for whatever.
Okay, I can either bring it, or if you are, I mean, I live in Oak Bluff, so I don't know if you're doing anything else down this area. I could, you know, we could meet down here or whatever. So, because I'd love to get you, and, you know, I know a whole other week of you dealing with all this stuff is probably not the most proactive. So, you know, and again, I don't have a job, so I'm not really doing too much these days, so I guess I technically could drive the tour, but if you, you know, just let me know, even if you wanna go, I don't know if you have it, even if you want to go real quick, I could give it to you from here. I'm just gonna go to the Jerry Center real quick and bring a box.
I'm gonna go in there too.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you, Cindy, thank you, Joe. You want help?
No, we're all good. Thank you. She was so good. I can't even stand it. Thank you.
Yeah, good.
Always.
Pretty much, you know, like, she's really gotta be, if she's like fussy, there's something wrong, you know, just like now, she's constipated.
Oh. Well, and she's probably good. She's been here a long time.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah, maybe next week I'll try and leave her. Yeah, depending on. If they feel like they can handle it.
Yeah.
It's probably fast,
Then a little one-on-one.
but, yeah, so, I mean, he loves her, but
Of course he
it's
does.
definitely like a thing sometimes for him.
His own thing.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to kindergarten next year?
No, he's preschool, he's just 3, so,
I couldn't remember.
we'll have 2 years of preschool. We're
does he go, or where
He's
is he?
gonna go to Pearl and Feather.
Oh, okay,
I love it there.
have they hired a new director yet?
I think they're close, or they've offered some of the positions.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it was cool that it was a man, it's so rare.
And he is pretty great, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sad that he's leaving.
Yeah.
Where's he going, do you know?
No, I think the island was hard for him, so,
Well, it's
Yeah.
hard,
yeah, it's hard, I don't disagree.
yeah. When you think about it, it's like, I mean, I don't know anything about him, like he's married or anything, but.
No, yeah, I think he's single, I
Trying to
know,
be-
especially at that phase in life, it's like one thing if you're settled,
Yeah,
but,
it's a hard place to go.
yeah.
Young people.
I know, I think about that with my daughter, because she moved back here after college, but she has a boyfriend that she's had for, I mean, since 8th grade, it's so weird, but,
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like, she doesn't, and she's not a big socializer,
yeah,
but I know a lot of kids that it's really, 22, 23, 24-year-old,
they're gone, yeah,
and then, what happens, they get in bad habits.
yeah, I know, that's one thing I think our husband did. Of like, there's definitely among his friends, just this like failure to watch,
Yeah,
kind
That
of
is a good-
stunted,
yeah, that is a good way to put it.
thing, where I'm like, how do I raise kids here without them being too comfortable?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of struggles, good.
I know, it's like, I told my kids when they were graduating from high school, like, you don't have to go to college, but here's what you can't do, you can't pump gas.
Yeah,
You wanna own a gas station, then let's
Yeah.
talk,
yeah,
but you're not just sitting here living in my basement and pumping gas, you gotta make a future.
yeah, yeah,
Because here, if you're not building a future,
yeah.
all right, well,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so much.
my,
Yeah, we'll be here for the rest. I was watching these
That's
sisters
okay.
kids last week, so.
okay, glad you're here
Yeah,
today.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was nice. It's great. See you next week. All right, thank you.
The end of it's on Friday.
Well, yeah, I know, I was thinking about that, especially for you, because you go through so much during the week.
Yeah.
Monday's always better.
I know. And we've just added so much programming, I mean, we're doing this. I mean, this week we did that positive solution, we do a clinic on Monday, which I do for myself. Then we do a socialization on Tuesday next week. Even like in my limited experience, it seemed like all of a sudden there's a whole lot. Well, you know why? It's all of a sudden we can do stuff in person.
Right.
You know, where we've been doing everything freaking on the computer, but you never have to leave your office. Yeah. Yes.
this for bowling.
I know, I really want us to do bowling again, but you know what, I cannot do 8 o'clock at night.
I know.
And that's why we have to sign up again. It's just like,
That's hard.
I mean, I think it's 4 o'clock.
Oh,
I was thinking of suggesting them. Probably for the fall, but they look, they're starting up. I was thinking of suggesting do a women's league, just one time to early time, just 10 teams.
Yep.
Sign up, if you don't get to sign up, you don't have to sign up.
Yep.
And that way, at least there'd be something.
Yeah. And we like to do business league or mixed league. They what?
Chairs go on that long.
Yeah.
That's 4 hours. I don't know if I took the last one. Even know how to go on there. The back, is Zoom still recording us? Is this the end of your day, Cindy? Or?
Oh, no. And then Zoom in 45 minutes. Looks like it's a big launch.
last week, Kim swept the floor as well.
Yeah, we have to sweep the floor.